Salt&Sanctuary was created after the developers played a bit too much Dark Souls 2 and tried to understand why every hardcore gamer is afflicted with the curse of salt, and how to handle salt. As for first impressions, options are expectable. Character creation is expectable as well. But the starting sequence is that of every masterpiece. A cutscene short enough to introduce you to the setting, and then a short tutorial. It honestly upsets me that these games still have the best starting sequence, yet they were released more than 20 years ago. But Salt&Sanctuary comes pretty close. Combat is literally Dark Souls, but you can also attack mid-air when you jump. The game is not shy about copying Dark Souls, and it is not just combat. So let me tell you why the game is so good. First of all, the combat is hype. The only limit of stylish combos is stamina and positioning, but playing with a friend is limited. You can infinite combo anything, as long as you are good enough, of course. Not to mention the nuances of combat, which get pretty interesting once you explore the weapon's moveset. Secondly, customization. So many movesets, so many spells, and so many upgrade allocations. Now imagine combining them. And did I mention the homage to Symphony of the Night's reverse casting? Yes, some levels are indeed made in mind for both directions. I wish more games had this. Ultimately, just playing it with your friends, seizing the game together, and becoming stronger and stronger is pretty fun. Even dying together is fun. The game has a lot of surprises and broken beats which are insanely fun, and ultimately it is full of soul. It is undoubtedly a masterpiece, yet a flawed one. So let me touch some aspects more critically. The environmental art style is great, partly because of excellent lighting usage to the point of rivaling Hollow Knight. But it is impossible to ignore the silly faces, ruining the mood and atmosphere. Putting a helmet works, but just for you. And even then, not all helmets are good. It is no wonder most builds have the pumpkin mask. For example, you call this a mask of gold? It looks like a Chinese plastic mask for Halloween. This is what a mask of gold looks like. Animations and particles are passable, and so I have nothing to say on them.
It just works.
Now, at a first glance, the color palette of this game looks dark and lifeless, just like another soulless AAA game. But this is a deliberate choice for the blood and gore system. It's honestly the best out of all 2D games. Look how you paint the walls with glory. It makes me sad I was unable to do this on Double Damnation. A crimson red would fit so well with a bright blue. But enough of that. Let us dive into level design. Levels are what one would expect from a Metroidvania. Big areas, but with a linear level design. It's literally the level design of a generic platformer, but with some elevation to give the illusion it's not a corridor. For a full screen there is only one way forward. Nothing like Double Damnation, where you can go at any part of the level if you are skilled, As for how levels connect with each other, it's so close to Dark Souls 1 yet so far. It honestly pains me. The connections are there. The world is interconnected masterfully, but the developers locked it up, forcing you to go exclusively one way all the time. The branches you unlock are only to past areas. You also need keys from bosses to continue, even though the enemies of these locked areas are by themselves so hard and easily block players not meant to be there. Even if you started with all the boss keys, you would still be restricted by mobility upgrades and gate levers. So, requiring the keys from bosses at top of those makes you feel restricted as to where you can go. This is the definition of wasted potential, especially in the endgame when you traverse the world and understand how well it is connected. And let me tell you what pains me further. You will get lost eventually, not in the I feel like an explorer mood, but in a I have killed everything and I do not know where to go now. I have to open a walkthrough. Opening a walkthrough is a tragedy, as it kills the immersion and feels like cheating. It feels like you are stupid for not knowing where to go. No developer designed the target game experience with you opening a walkthrough. It gets even worse because of the accidental spoilers. But you see, while I was writing this review, I was about to rant on how many times I got lost and compare it with other Metroidvanias. But then it hit me. If they didn't have a map system, you would get lost far more than Salt&Sanctuary and probably have a walkthrough open on the background permanently. And so it is impressive that in Salt&Sanctuary I got lost so few times without a map. The smoothness of movement is literally the opposite of Double Damnation. You feel like you play as crippled Mario with a heavy armor all the time. And even worse, if you actually wear heavy armor, you cannot jump as high or move as fast. This is not explained anywhere. But it gets even sadder. Snake Man, Plague Winds theme. Most of your deaths will not be from enemies, but missing a jump and instantly die. You have so little air control because the developers thought, let's have fall damage in a platforming game. An insta-kill mechanic you cannot heal or outsmart, yet is part of the core experience. You cannot even consistently grab the ledge, so most of your deaths will originate in platforming. It is dreadful. Imagine, if you will, playing Smash Bros, but every time you grab the ledge, there is a 50% chance you will not. It gets so bad you cannot even go to the edge of any ledge, but the game automatically pulls you back like a child. Now, let me tell you how to outright save this platforming nonsense and make the game playable and fun. The best move in the game, a genius design. I wish I would see this in every game where players are separated. An instant teleport move, usable instantly with no end lag or cooldown. You must seize this ability. It is expected of you. The platforming is cruel, so you must use every tool the game gives you. if you want to reach the end. Or die trying. Now let me talk about the final flaw. Just like Sundered, the level up system is clearly inspired by Path of Exile. And it is an abomination. It looks as if you can branch anywhere, yet you cannot experiment with any hybrid build, because every build needs its specialization to be effective. In simpler words, the skill tree is as linear as the level design and the world design. But let me show you what makes it from a mediocre skill system to outright horrible. Yet another proof of the illusion of freedom this tree provides, the false choices which leave you bitter once you realize this huge tree is actually linear. But how can you be bitter when on character creation you can start with this item and summon a friend instantly? Please note, the multiplayer of this game is only local, couch co-op, not online. Do not try to stream this. And if you use that machine they call a Nintendo Switch, you need an extra controller. 2 Joy-Cons are not enough. Shivering Sword is the optimal stage to fight. Place a stone guide figurine there so you can fast travel at any time you feel like dueling. Rules are, whoever falls and touches the grass loses. Otherwise the duel will never end. These wooden legs can be touched only once. If you land there twice, you lose. By the way, Estus flasks are overpowered just like Dark Souls 3. If only health regeneration stopped on the first hit, it would make me play duels all day. Currently, they're just a little fun distraction, so let me show some duels. This game is designed for 2 players and I love it. There is, however, a flaw which I forgot to mention earlier, because it is negligible. Command dodge. I can accept a move which bypasses shield, otherwise shield would be objectively superior to dodge roll. I can accept a move which has no cooldown. I can accept many overlapping hitboxes by many spamming enemies. I can accept some of these enemies having the health of a boss, but not having invulnerability frames. There is also one more minor thing to be wary. crypticness. I get that it tries to be vague and abstract like Dark Souls, but there is no way to know what happens in detail if you take another Covenant oath, or more importantly, what fatigue is, or sin, or cleansing yourself, or transmutation, or scaling. And I had played Dark Souls before this. Imagine if I hadn't. So let me explain this for you in a singular image. It would not be a just Salt&Sanctuary review if I did not mention the iconic cleric who brings you back to the sanctuary every time you die. To end this review, let me end it with the ending of this game. The horror of beating the underwhelming final boss and then a new game plus enforced upon you, as you lose all your items, skills and checkpoints without any warning. I wanted to hunt for the bosses which I missed. I didn't even touch an entire area. I wanted the final duel with my friend, with a branch which allow for insane dodges and offstage action, just like Smash Bros. But I randomly beat a weak boss and the game suddenly ended, and I lost everything. I will not speak of New Game Plus, which I think is also horrible because of scaling and that levels are literally the same. It would be so exciting if you had all brands unlocked from the start of New Game Plus, or all gate leaders, exploring the world more freely and with a different sequence of areas, a fresh playthrough. Ultimately, the ending of this game and the platforming made me feel salty.